Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. We got a season 3 finale going on right now, and we are doing our Multiversal Draft. That's right. We are drafting a multiversal survival team and figuring out whose squad dies first. So, I know in the past we've done these season finales that are supposed to be really reflective. This one is different. So, we are doing one character per franchise, no gods, no reality ending cheat codes. And later, we will debate on which team is better, which position that we chose for that character is better. So, let's get right into it.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
What's going on, everybody? Again, welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse. We're just a couple of dudes talking about geeky shit. So, I am one of your hosts, Grumpy Beard. With me, as always, Captain Lestache.
What's up, y'all? Anyways, yes, so this is a very interesting episode, especially to close the season 3 finale. I mean, Matt, can we even talk about this for a second? We mentioned this in the last episode, our good old Valentine's Day episode with our wives on. You know, it's crazy to me that we've now been doing this for 3 freaking years, Matt.
Yeah.
3 freaking years. It's crazy. And so we're going into, season 4 after this. And I'm telling you, man, I feel like we're just getting started. I mean, we always say that in the beginning of like each season, but I feel like we're just like, we're always trying to come up with new things and trying to do all this cool stuff.
Right.
But it's interesting how this one, I'm not gonna lie, yes, I'm gonna say it. I was a little late to the ball game when it came to this, multiversal draft here, but we'll get into that in a second. But it's crazy because, I mean, some of these rules are just, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it was hard for me to like even come up with it pretty quick, but once I got, some things flowing and trying to get it all out, I mean, I had to even debate with Matt to get one guy, but I couldn't even do that. So I was like, all right, fine. I'll play by the rules. I did all that. I followed the
Yeah.
rules to a T. And yes, they have to be exactly for that category. And it's really difficult, but I will say I'm going to be very surprised between both of our, teams, because I do know Matt pretty well. And I do know that there are certain maybe characters that he would pick because I feel, it's just me, gut feeling here, because of all the past characters and stuff that we've talked about before. Like, for example, right? I'm just going to take a quick guess here. Matt, one of Matt's favorite franchises, especially one of the ones we've done in the past, was Terminator. And he's talked about a lot about Terminator. So my thing is I have a strange feeling that he would have chose at least a version of the Terminator. Do I know which character? Not a freaking clue. But I feel like in my mind that either the Terminator or maybe like Predator or something like that would probably be in the mix. Now, I don't know. I'm just guessing because, again, those are some of his favorite franchises and things like that. I mean, Matt probably going to be like,
yeah, I already know which one of your characters are going to be. It's like your favorite Marvel character of all time. And I'm like,
very well could be. Maybe
Maybe.
it won't. We'll see.
So yeah, here's the thing. We'll go over the rules real quick because I had set up some draft rules so that either of us didn't take like 4 Marvel characters or we didn't have all these characters, like every single one of my characters is from Marvel, like
No.
So we have one character per franchise per team. So if you take Batman, that locks you out of every DC character that it currently exists. So you can't take Batman and Superman on the same team. No, the categories that we have must be filled exactly. So we have team leader, brains, muscle, a moral compass, tech, magic, supernatural, character, the wild card, and comic relief. Those are the categories. And part of these rules, and this is where we debated, was there's no gods, no cosmic gods, no reality erasers. So your Dr. Manhattan, your Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, or Franklin Richards, or Abeloth, who's from, I believe, DC. Characters must function on a team, so there's no armies, no abstractions. So you can't just say, oh, the Force, or the Dark Side, or the Speed Force, or even the Avengers, or Justice League, or the Jedi Order. It has to be who from the Jedi Order, who from the Avengers, like who, you know what I mean? So it has to be that. And then even though, yes, I say picks were picked ahead of time and prepared,
No, I didn't follow that rule. No.
But they were before we started recording. They were prepared ahead of time, but we do not know each other's teams. So John does not know who I have for each
No.
category, and I don't know who
guessed.
you just picked.
I know you're right, but I only guessed because of the fact that we've been talking about a lot of these characters, and yes, a lot of the categories like the eligible like universe list, right? So that are already pre-approved. I'll mention a few, like so we know like Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, Halo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Walking Dead. I mean, there's so many others. I mean, we could also throw at other ones on there too because at the same time, I mean, again, we got to make it really different as much as we can.
Right. Right. I mean, and then there's enough. I mean, there's the adult animation. So Simpsons, South Park, Rick and Morty. I mean, between myths and legends. And then you have, 80s, 90s, and 2000 staples. I mean, I just mentioned a few, but I mean, you could do Rambo. You could do like all these other franchises that were 80s and 90s. But we're going to talk about the draft reveal one category at a time, and we each get our chance to say who they are and give a little bit of a justification. We're not arguing about who we're picking yet. Like, I'm not going to say, well, that's a shitty pick, John.
Like, how dare you pick that guy?
We're going to mention them. We're going to do a justification, and then we're going to go to the next category. We're going to do that back and forth until we hit all the categories. And then we're going to break down the teams. So that's what the plan is. And I will, I think, let you go first, John.
Oh, of course you want me to go first. Of course you want me to
I'm going to start a document so I can write down your team because I might not remember everybody.
Well, then I'm going to have to start yours then, too.
All right.
All right. So, first up, we got the team leader. So, ready? Here's Matt. Ready? He's like, let me guess. So yes, I'm gonna say yes. This one was an obvious one. Yes, I did pick Captain America. Okay, yes, I did pick Captain America for my team leader. Yes, he's like, oh, I'm not surprised there. Anyway, so why do I think he's perfect? Okay, he's a proven battlefield commander across cosmic, political, and moral conflicts. Right, he inspires gods, soldiers, aliens, and spies alike. Makes impossible odds feel like a manageable math. Now, granted, he's also human, right? But he's also a super humanoid, being. But anyways, he doesn't lead with power. He leads with principle. And I feel like, the characters that I chose, because it does mention some of the characters on here. I think he'd find a way to try to at least compromise or find a way to, manage the team successfully. But that's just me. Okay. So there's my little 15, 20 minute or 20-second little pitch there.
All right. So the character I chose for my team leader is Optimus Prime from Transformers. So, Optimus Prime brings battlefield command experience on a planetary scale. He's decisive under pressure. He prioritizes mission success without losing sight of ethical consequences. He understands how to coordinate vastly different fighters into one unified force. He also contributes massive frontline combat ability, meaning the leader isn't just directing the fight from a distance, he's anchoring it physically. So his biggest value for why I chose him was stability. He prevents fragmentation, he keeps personalities aligned, and ensures strategy doesn't collapse when chaos hits. So Optimus Prime is my very first one.
Okoroko. So, my second one for the brains is going to be, I'm going to say it, Matt. I'm going to choose Batman. And the reason why, right, because he's a great, granted, he is a great leader, but here's the other thing. He's a strategist, right? He's an overall strategist. He's a master tactician, contingency architect, plans for allies turning rogue. So again, he plans ahead, and it's already been proven in comics and everything else, but, blends his intellect, psychology, and combat science. Batman isn't just smart, he's prepared, and Batman plans for the inevitable, right? And so he's just one that, granted, with every combat skills and everything else that he brings to the table, yes, he's also human, but he at least, can also counteract with Captain America to kind of like get both on the same page. So it's a nice little balance between the both, because like if you think about Marvel, you're looking at Tony Stark being that same thing, but in this case, for picking from a different universe, I think those two could at least kind of match, I would think, pretty well together.
Right. So I have for brains in that category, Reed Richards.
Okay.
So
Different.
Reed is a long game strategist whose strength is turning unknown variables into solvable problems. He excels at predictive modeling, analyzing alien systems, and designing solutions that scale beyond the immediate fight. His thinking operates at a multiversal level, making him ideal for planning missions that involve unfamiliar physics, technology, or environments. So Reed Richards is the architect of victory rather than the executor, the one ensuring the team wins before the first shot is even fired. I mean, we all, if you know anything about comic books, you know Reed Richards is probably one of the smartest characters alive, right?
Well, that too.
So, for brains is Reed Richards.
Alrighty. So what's the next one? Was it muscle, right?
The next one is it's muscle.
So this one's a tough one. So I'll explain why this was a little tough one. So I mean, I did want to be different, right? And so I did pick two, but then I realized I have to pick, and I'll explain why I originally chose two, but then I'm going to choose the reason why. So the muscle I chose was between Darth Vader, and
Okay.
this is the second one. So this one was from Jurassic Park.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just
Oh, I
saying,
know. The second one was a T-Rex. Okay, so yes, and you're like, okay, a mammal, or like an animal. And I'm like, well, that's the problem. So like, and then I thought about it some more, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go with Darth Vader, and that's just me. So the reason why I said the muscle, right? So, so the reason why is because one, cybernetic strength, like plus force mastery, tactical battlefield dominance, psychological intimidation. He's not just strong; he controls the battlefield without moving. So the biggest thing about him is that, of course, with him being a Sith Lord in this case, yes. Again, here's the difference though, is like, if, let's say he's talking with Batman or Captain America, something like that. I mean, yeah, now granted, it depends on which could I choose Anakin? Could I choose between Darth Vader? Sure. I mean, I could do whatever I want in that sense. I would think Darth Vader would be a better choice, or maybe towards the end or something like that. I don't know. The point is I could choose him. I think he'd be really good with the strength wise. I mean, the force ability alone, this guy is intimidating for what it is. Like if they needed him for certain things, I feel like he could do the job, especially with given what they could face. But that's just me.
Okay. Are you done?
I am done now.
Okay. So for muscle, I chose Master Chief from Halo.
Okay, that's a prize. Yeah.
So Master Chief represents disciplined combat efficiency. He brings elite soldier instincts, precise execution, and the ability to function at peak performance under extreme pressure. His strength lies in reliability. He completes objectives, adapts quickly, and doesn't let ego or emotion disrupt the mission. He is the squad's professional operator, the one trusted to carry out the most dangerous parts of the plan and make it work in real conditions. So, again, if you know anything about Halo, you know that Master Chief is kind of that like super soldier. He doesn't have real emotions, and again, he is that elite soldier that I would trust on the team to be that muscle, that guy that I would want. Hey, we need this done. Just go do it, and he would just go do it, efficiently. So,
okay,
Master Chief.
All right. So this one, I'm not gonna lie, I really had to change this at the last second because
This is the moral compass.
I know,
Yes.
and the reason why is because you already picked this guy, and so I was like, shit. I was like, well, I don't want to pick the same people. I wanted to try to be as much different as I can be. So the moral compass, I will say that originally I did choose Optimus Prime. That was me, but then I said, you know what, I'm going to go with somebody else, and the reason why is, and I'll explain why. It's Aragorn, and the reason for that is because why would he be strong in this category? So again, he leads with humility, right? So he fights only when necessary. He also understands sacrifice, right? So Aragorn, can balance, Captain America's command style with medieval nobility, more grounded, less cosmic, but again, with that being said, I mean, he's a great fighter for what it is. And I mean, he also understands, what it means to lead, but also can probably take a back seat as well. So like, he kind of follows the lead of Frodo, if I'm not mistaken. Like, even though like he was a leader himself, but like he was also defending. So like he understands that piece of it, and I think he would be good, like a good balance between everybody. And plus having that medieval factor. I don't know. I think the medieval part of that is actually kind of unique for what it is. But I guess we'll have to find out.
Right. So my moral compass, and I did filter through a few people because a few characters, because I was like, yeah, well, for one reason or another, I kind of dismissed a lot of them, and then I ultimately chose Samwise Gamgee
Oh,
as my moral compass because one, Sam provides emotional endurance and ethical grounding. He represents loyalty, perseverance, and courage that holds up even when hope disappears. In those high risk missions, that kind of psychological strength is critical. It prevents despair, it keeps teammates focused on the right outcome, and reminds the squad that they're what they're actually fighting for. So he ensures the team's purpose stays clear and human, which can be just as important as having tactical success. So,
okay.
yeah, same way as Gamgee.
All right. All right. So the next
And
category is tech.
tech.
So this one, I know there's some really great people for this category, but I was going to go a little old school on this,
Okay.
and I decided to go with Donatello.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why is because, yes, and the reason why he's perfect for this is, yes, he does build advanced tech from scraps. He's a tactical mind with engineering creativity, keeps systems running while giant fights are happening. So in the case of, with Batman, he can also do that with him. You know what I mean? Like they can work together. And also in the comics, they also had worked together anyway. So I feel that Donatello in this category, yes, he's a great fighter as well, but he's also very tactical mind. So I do have a lot of like tactical and, wise individuals. So like, even though, yes, he would be fitting this role, I feel like there are certain other people that can complement with certain other roles. So like, that's also what I was thinking of is like, if one person, let's say, is down, it means that somebody could possibly take their, place, because at the end of the day, I'm not saying that if someone was down, like let's say if Donatello was out, like it doesn't mean like, for example, Batman couldn't take his role. You know what I mean? So like I was trying to complement as much as I could to try to see which characters could possibly, if somebody went down, to make sure like they could step in that role if need be. So like I said, Donatello, I think he's kind of an overall good fit, and I think he would work well with most of them. But that's me.
Okay. So, yeah, for tech, again, I think I probably did the same process as you. Like, I went through a lot of different people, and I was like, okay, well, who would be the best? Obviously, I already chose Reed Richards.
Right.
So I can't do Tony Stark. I can't do, a lot of other, um, Pym and all those guys that are like really good at inventing. So I went. It might be a radical choice, but I think with already who I already have Reed Richards. I already have Optimus Prime. And so my tech person is Rick Sanchez. And
Am I not surprised?
Rick contributes unmatched engineering improvisation. He can create advanced technology under pressure. He produces solutions to seemingly impossible problems and equips the team with tools that change the shape of the battlefield. His value is speed of invention. He shortens the gap between problem and solution dramatically. Rick basically effectively gives the team the ability to respond to new threats with an entirely new capability set instead of relying on what they actually brought into the mission. So if you watch Rick and Morty, like that his inventions are either dumb or they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
But given the smarts that he has, that's why he's on my tech spot.
Okay. Oh, that was, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I had to look up something here.
So next we have magic and supernatural.
So magic and supernatural. Let me just pull up where I'm at here. Is what I chose is Albus Dumbledore. And the reason for this is I knew Matt wasn't going to pick anyone from Harry Potter. And I knew this would be the perfect time to try to pick somebody that I knew he wouldn't pick. And the reason why I think Albus Dumbledore, especially in the Harry Potter universe, he's one of the most powerful wizards of all time, and he knows a lot about magic. So in the case of this and why this works is because he's a master duelist. He's a deep knowledge of ancient magic, strategic thinker disguised as a gentle mentor. Um, he's got, timeless arcane wisdom. There's so much about him that I feel that he could just also bring some wisdom to the team as well with his mystic arts. And again, because I couldn't choose anybody from Marvel and DC already and a few others, I thought Harry Potter would be perfect because again, that's all what that world is literally magic and mystical arts. And so I thought, hey, this guy alone would definitely be a great fit for, I feel like, the team that I have.
Okay. Like you said, I wouldn't pick anybody from Harry Potter, but
I'm well aware, Matt.
So my magic / supernatural character is none other than Spawn.
Fucking course.
So Spawn provides high-end supernatural power and resilience. He's equipped to handle threats that normally fall outside of conventional combat. So demons, curses, dark entities, and other worldly forces. His durability, level of regeneration, and hellfire abilities allow him to operate where normal fighters would be overwhelmed. Spawn ensures the team isn't vulnerable to mystical or occult dangers and gives them a powerful answer when the fight moves go beyond science or technology or even physical to be on that level. I mean, I'm not going to say he's God level because there is a King Spawn and a God Spawn. I'm just talking the normal Spawn.
Okay, because I'm like,
normal Spawn.
Because I'm just saying, you and I fought about me trying to choose Kratos and things like that.
But Spawn is not a god.
Well, I mean, I understand all this, but he does have very godlike powers.
He can, and some versions do, but I'm doing the regular Spawn. It falls within within the constraints.
All right, Mr. Loophole. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna call him Mr. Loophole.
It's within the constraints because the thing with Spawn too is if you watch the animated show or you know anything about the comic books, every time he uses his power, there's a countdown to his powers.
Okay.
So
all right,
there is that aspect of Spawn too. So
the next one is the wild card. Now, this one, I originally, and see, this is the problem, Matt. I literally had to pick this right out of my ass really quick because he just said the character and it kind of like, and I was kind of like, shit, I can't pick him and I don't want to pick him, even though I really wanted to pick him. But then I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. He's already mentioned it. So it was originally Rick Sanchez for the wild card. And I was like, damn it. So now I chose somebody and I think he might appreciate this. So I chose instead Negan as my wild card.
Okay.
And the reason for this, because he brings that wild card energy, right? So he brings this charismatic but volatile, kind of state. I mean, come on, Lucille, the Bat. I mean, the way he beat the shit out of people. Come on. I feel like it's just a signature look here. But it's not even just the Bat. I mean, I know he uses weapons. I know he knows how to use them. But he's tactical. He's manipulative. Could either boost morale or even fracture it. So even though the psychological piece, like unpredictability, because I know another great one would have been Deadpool, but I already chose Captain America, so I couldn't really, I can't really do that, unfortunately. So I think Negan, with the wild card factor, I feel like he'd be the one that would just do the dumbest shit and somehow get away with it, and I think it's just that it's definitely going to be whether or not it's going to work with the team. But who knows? I mean, like I said, it would be interesting to see how well he would play with others, especially where he's not the leader of a team. So, again, all depending on that. But I am curious, Matt, on what your next pick is.
So my next pick, and this is the wild card, obviously. I picked Geralt of Rivera.
Oh, so you chose
The Witcher. Geralt is a highly adaptable combat specialist with experience dealing with unknown creatures, curses, and unpredictable threats. He combines swordsmanship, tactical thinking, magical techniques, and enhanced perception into a flexible skill set suited for chaotic environments. So, The Witcher excels at identifying weaknesses in strange enemies and responding with the right tool or tactic that makes him invaluable when the mission involves unfamiliar dangers or rapidly changing conditions. So that's my wild card.
You know what? I'm gonna go last on this comic relief one. I really want to hear yours first. I really do. I feel like this one should be a really good one for you. So I'm really curious on who your comic relief is first, since I've already gone first.
To be honest, I was initially thinking of one, or it was one character in particular of the two, because there's normally two
Okay.
when you talk about them. But I did go in a different direction. Although Beavis and Butthead are my favorite
Uh
ones, I just felt like they were going to be too stupid
huh. Yeah. No
to
kidding on
really
that one.
be like of use. So my comic relief, I went with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Really
and I went with Michelangelo.
interesting.
So Michelangelo contributes morale, agility, and stealth capability. His humor keeps tension from overwhelming the squad, which is it's critical during long or dangerous missions. The high stress environments wear teams down quickly, and someone like Michelangelo can maintain energy and positivity. That would be a real tactical asset to have. Beyond personality, he's also a trained ninja. He's fast, precise, capable of reconnaissance, infiltration, and close quarters combat when needed. So you put those two together, and I think one for comic relief, but also to have another fighter, if you will, on the team.
Okay. Okay.
So I have Michelangelo.
So the last and final pick for me for comic relief. So I really wanted to do a really different direction. So, and I'm going to explain why in a second too. But I mean, I understood where you went with that too, because you want to have like as most use as you can. I feel like this one can definitely do that, but also can also bring another character technically into the play, which could help. I mean, I understand we only can have so many, but I mean, he does technically ride this particular character in this movie, but you'll see why in a second. So I chose, ready? Donkey from Shrek. So, and the reason why, and Matt's like, oh, okay, I got you now. So yeah, so and Donkey and and of course in Shrek, like Eddie Murphy, man. I mean, comic relief. I mean, I don't know who could get better than that personally, but when you're looking at Donkey, I mean, when he's riding dragon, and of course they have babies and all this stuff. I'm not saying the babies part, but at least the dragon part. It's not like he couldn't call her in, like you know what I mean, like to kind of help back up, and like he does ride her. Like I know, yeah, I'm gonna say he rides her, into the sunset and all that stuff. But anyways, the reason why I feel like this matters is because Donkey, especially I know in Shrek, like Shrek gets annoyed by, are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. It's like, can you stop asking me? But like, for his sake, he keeps the tension from imploding the team. Unexpected loyalty, he humanizes gods, machines, and monsters. Morale wins wars. Donkey keeps morale alive. I feel like he might be even annoying, but I feel like at the same time, like after a while, they might get used to some of the stupid jokes, like, "Hey, guess what? I'm making waffles in the morning." Like some of the stupid quirks that he would do. But I mean, like I said, with Donkey, having that comic relief, I mean, they all need to have a laugh. They all, like he's he is kind of stupid from time to time, but I feel like the funniness of him and stuff like that. I think with everybody, Negan probably could have a good laugh and try to do all that too. But I feel like for me, comic wise, I think he would do a good job. But that's just me. And like I said, I told you it was going to be left field, man. It was not going to be someone I definitely know you wouldn't have chose.
No, I wouldn't have chose.
I know.
I mean, I wouldn't have chose Dumbledore or Donkey, but
I know. I got you.
all right. So we have our two teams. So I have Optimus Prime, Reed Richards, Master Chief, Samwise Gamgee, Geralt of Rivera, Rick Sanchez, Spawn, and Michelangelo. And you have Captain America, Batman, Darth Vader, Aragorn, Donatello, Dumbledore, Negan, and Donkey from Shrek. So let's
talk about it.
Let's break it down. Let's debate. We'll start with team leader. Does the leader actually command respect? Would he allow the team to splinter immediately?
I feel like both of our choices, whether it's Optimus Prime or Cap, I don't think they would really demand respect because I feel like they both take action. And I think that's the biggest thing. So I really can't feel like we both can debate on it. I mean, yeah, I understand that Optimus Prime, sure, he might know certain other things that maybe Cap doesn't know, but same thing with Cap. I mean, or like with Optimus, like, I think Cap in the sense of what I was trying to debate is like, yes, he of course is human, like, but at the same time, like, even when time like the hard times, come, like he tries to make sure that, his team is good to go and try to like figure out exactly what they can do to resolve the issue. I mean, like they both are basically people of action. And I don't think really it's hard. I feel like this one might be a little hard to debate, in my opinion. But that's you.
Well, I mean, when I look at your team altogether,
Hold on. I thought we were debating on each category and not
well,
just.
the thing is, our leaders are leading the team altogether.
Correct.
Like they're so I am talking about Captain America, but I'm also looking at the personalities that you have on your team.
Oh, I get it.
Because I mean, the one thing we can say is that Cap isn't a bad character. Like he's morally good in that way, but his leadership style I don't think fits your roster, to be honest, because
Okay, well, that's fine.
Cap does lead through like shared values and trust and a moral compass. And you have one that's Darth Vader. He's a fear-based enforcer. Like he
True.
enforces through fear. You also have Negan, who's just a literal chaos character. Like he's
Oh, I know. I understand that.
so. I think could Cap be an effective leader? Yes, but that's when people want to follow him. One, Negan would think he's too goody two shoes, and I think
I mean, he
Negan
might
would-
be, but I mean, okay. But then you look at who's your wild card again?
My wild card was The Witcher.
Okay, and I'm not saying he's not a bad guy or a good guy, because the problem is I don't know a whole like, because I know it's kind of like he's an in between, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, like he's not necessarily good nor he's necessarily bad, right? So like there might be some conflicts there too, especially where you're looking at Optimus, where yes, he's a robot in the sense, but he's trying to be as humanoid as possible, as in the sense of like trying to work with them. I mean, I'm not saying that Optimus couldn't relate to some of these characters, right? But at the same time, I mean, I feel like even on both of our teams, sure, there's going to be conflict. I mean, that's going to be because you're basically putting these random ass characters together and saying, okay, let's go save the world together. There's going to be tension. There's going to be conflicts first, and then there's going to have to be some sort of.
I just think I think Optimus is built on more of that.
But he's also a moral compass.
He is moral compass, but he also works. I mean, if you look at Transformers as a franchise, the cartoons or even in comic books, like there's a lot of Autobots that had a lot of very different personalities. And
True. But if you look
Optimus was like one of those higher level guys that was like, well, he's a prime and
right, but that's
he commands that respect. And I think when you're looking at I mean, I wouldn't necessarily think The Witcher would be a terrible. He's actually not the terrible character I would think on my roster, to be honest. There is one that's pretty terrible, but
I know. Like you mean Rick?
Yes, but I'm saying like the Witcher, even though he may want to just do things on his own. I think Optimus has that level of command experience that he could bring the team together.
Okay, I mean, like that's why I'm saying agree to disagree. I'm just saying that yes, I understand what you're saying about Cap. Where yes, if you're talking about moral compass and like, but the other thing is this, and this is where I would say like, because you're right. I mean, when you're looking at Optimus Prime and you're talking about commanding respect because of the Autobots, because he's at a higher level once he becomes a Prime. The thing is though, is that even with Cap, I mean, granted, he was a runt and he knows what it feels like to be the low guy on the totem pole, and he knows what it means. But again, it's not that he's trying to command the respect. He's also trying to say, hey, listen, I'm like, I wouldn't do something if I, let me put it this way. So like, how, like, if you look at leadership, like, you're basically in the shit with everyone else. Right. So like you have to,
and I get it.
That. And so that's the other thing is like where Cap, like, I feel like I'm not saying Optimus Prime wouldn't do it because he does sacrifice himself. I'm not saying that. And Cap would too, in the sense of what he's trying to do. I know that, Darth Vader, if you're talking about Negan and, some of the other characters, I know Albus Dumbledore technically does. I know technically Aragorn would do that too, if we're talking about sacrifice and things like that. So depending on the characters, sure, you're right. And I mean, granted, Darth Vader does sacrifice himself as well. So there are characters that do sacrifice themselves and do all this stuff. But again, it's also that early conflict and that tension that, that's how they would have to build the trust and the loyalty and the respect from the very beginning. And I'm not saying that, sure, there's going to be issues. I mean, my team could be really a rag, like a misfit rag team, of just like a bunch of different individuals. But like, how many times have you seen in different movies or characters or whatever that a bunch of misfits usually sometimes figure out a way to make a team work too?
Oh, I'm not saying there's not a way, because I definitely think Optimus Prime would struggle to command a team with Vader and Negan on it, because Negan is just that wild card. But I mean, we could argue all day, but I think, one, they're both good leaders.
I know, if we're going to move on, so then we should talk about the brains versus the ego.
Brains versus ego. So smart doesn't mean cooperative. Like, who slows things down trying to be right? You have Batman and I have Reed Richards.
So here's the thing, though, and I'm gonna say us both for a second. So I'm not saying that Batman doesn't, because I mean, yes, he does try to be right, but he's also been known to be humble in some ways too. But the thing is, even with Reed Richards, is that there's a lot of times, I'm not saying he can't do the same thing either, but it's that kind of that both where, for me, the reason why I chose Batman in this case is because, I mean, he's one of the smartest guys on the planet, just like Reed Richards would be in Marvel. The issue is that, sometimes you're right, that being too smart is not always good, because especially where you have Reed Richards, you have Rick Sanchez, and I'm trying to remember some of the other characters again. Like, I mean, you have Michelangelo's, he's okay, like smart wise, but not really. And then, you got, I think you just need to send me the list again, because I'm trying to remember your characters.
You should have wrote them down.
I know, but I was also trying to do some stuff. So just tell me one more time and I'll write it down right now.
All right, hold on. I have
Optimus Prime. I know that.
Optimus Prime, Reed Richards.
All right, hold on. Yep, Reed Richards. Yep.
Master Chief.
Yep. Master Chief. Yep.
Samwise Gamgee.
Samwise Gamgee. Yep.
Geralt of Rivera.
Yep.
Rick Sanchez.
Yep.
Spawn and Michelangelo. So that's my characters.
Okay.
So while you're doing that,
I'm already done, but it's fine.
I gotta go all the way back down here. Hold on. There we go. So for one thing, knowing Batman, I mean, I'm not an expert on Batman / Bruce Wayne, but I do know that Batman wants to be in charge. He doesn't trust the plan, and that's just who Batman is. Like, even on Justice League, he's part of Justice League, but he's also planned a way to stop and or end the people that are in the Justice League. So that's what he's also going to do. He's not going to trust a leader.
No, I understand.
He definitely won't trust Vader or Negan.
I understand. Those would probably be the only two that he probably wouldn't trust. But no,
depending on Dumbledore keeping secrets, because we all know that Dumbledore does keep some secrets.
Right.
He's going to constantly run these backup plans to immobilize all of the rest of the characters, which could, it could. I'm saying could potentially so.
But I'm also going to say this. I mean, Reed could also be, I'm not saying he would think that way, but he possibly could. It's not like, because he is smart enough to know, like, if any one of them turned or like know their weakness or this and that, like every one of them has a weakness. It's a given fact. But I think that, when you're looking at Reed too, is that he's also, given the fact that he runs the Fantastic Four and does all that, like he also has to worry about the fact that, Master Chief, I'm not saying he's not a great leader, right? But he's a good guy to have on the team and to do all that. But like, Samwise, okay, yep, you're right. If you're talking about moral compass, sure, you're right. Geralt, it depends. It really depends on him too. I mean, Reed would have to really worry about Rick in the sense of your character and Spawn, because those two alone are wild cards in themselves. But I think with Michael, sure, whatever. I wouldn't say he was really a threat, but like really Rick and Spawn would be the two that I would worry about, especially when it comes to like the brawn and the kind of that wild card piece with Spawn, because again, I mean, he's also, when you look at Spawn, I would be a little worried about like what his intentions are too. You know what I mean? And like, because if like looking at the comics or looking at the, the TV show or whatever, or even the movies, like I know like he was there and he was trying to basically take, basically evil people from the world. Right. And so like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it can also be a bit good, so there's all these little different things, but like, I'm not saying that Batman wouldn't, come up with a backup plan, but at least if this would only be hopefully an in case scenario, which yeah, you're right. I mean, Darth Vader, Negan, sure. And I'm not saying that Albus Dumbledore doesn't have secrets because of course there's a reason why it's called also the Chamber of Secrets as a movie. But like some of the other things that he does. But the thing is though is that again like we were just mentioning, like there's going to be that tension. There's going to be things like you have to work through to understand. Like
yeah, I mean when I'm looking at Reed Richards, I mean yes. He can essentially win a conflict before it even starts. We all know that he's strategically smart. He predicts enemy responses. He can model outcomes. He can do, he can do all that. He might not be as flashy as Tony Stark is.
Right.
But I think the one weakness that I think Reed Richards would have is how much thinking
right he would have to do.
He not that he has to do, but that he believes he has to do. Because that's part of Reed Richards. He has a lot of OCD when it comes to overthinking.
Right, because he wants to be a perfectionist.
Right. So that, I mean, I could see that, but again, he's not going to be the same as quite Batman, even though Batman, yes, Batman might not invent things, but he has that power of being a detective, and he can pay
he can
to have those like certain gadgets that help him out.
Well,
and
true.
I think that's the difference between the two is, Batman's also going to be not trusting a lot of other people because he's also kind of one of those soul people.
No, correct.
You know what I mean?
The other
isolates himself.
Well, true, but I mean, the other thing, the reason why I was also looking, and I know we're kind of jumping ahead on this one, but like, the person that you have on your tech, would hopefully, I would think, try to complement, someone with the brains, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to have those two kind of on the same page, or at least as close as you can get. Now, I'm not saying like with Reed and Rick. I mean, those would be two interesting individuals trying to create something. I mean, they would probably make another Ultron or something like it. I'm not saying that Donatello and Batman couldn't, because it's not like they haven't worked in the comics before,
right?
But like they could come up with shit and probably invent something that you'd be like, holy shit, I didn't think that was even possible. I'm not saying that Reed and Rick wouldn't, because I know Reed and Rick would definitely create something that would be like, holy shit, like where are you finding half the shit? And you're like, so I mean, it's interesting to see how those two, or like whether it's like Donatello and Batman or even Rick and Reed, it would be interesting to see what those capsule those groups would do.
Yeah. So here's my argument of why you could possibly trust Rick Sanchez, because we all know, like, as far as my team, he's one of the people on my team that would be a real challenge.
Oh, he
and the argument that I have is that Rick can be liable when he's given a defined role and a reason to care about the outcome.
Right.
And if you watch Rick and Morty, some of the things about Rick's reputation, yes. Is it unstable? Sure. 100%. But he does protect people he works with.
True, but it also depends on who.
Right, but it's just a thing that he does protect the people. I mean, even though yes, he's left Morty in mortal danger multiple occasions,
times, yes.
But at the end of the day, Morty is still alive.
No,
he has protected him. He does solve impossible problems constantly and consistently. So he's always like trying to come up with a problem, even though yes, he's kind of like Rocket Raccoon, right? Like he may go to another portal and solve their problems, but he stole all their power.
Well, right. I mean,
right?
but yeah, and that's the thing though, where like I know Donatello in the sense of like this is like because again, I understand he's a turtle, he's this and that, but I mean, he does become more human-like. So it doesn't mean that he doesn't wouldn't trust certain individuals. So like I said, like in the comics already, like he already worked with Batman in a comic book, so it's not like he wouldn't understand, the like certain things. And so like I feel like those two could work together, and I mean they do, and it's not like they wouldn't. And I think for the sake of like the tech side, I think, both of them, I mean, I feel like they could at least complement each other. And I mean, especially where, like, let's say, we're talking about like, if like Donatello kind of reminds me of like taking, Tony Stark, in the sense of like in the first version of like, Iron Man, and trying to like basically take shit, like take literal scraps and like try to make something out of nothing. So, like, there are things that they could do that even though they may not have like, let's say, the fanciest tech or whatever, maybe at the time, if they were like struggling with certain things, like they could at least try to make something out of nothing, out of like
Yeah.
literal nothing, like where, Rick and, Reed, could possibly say, okay, well, sure, Rick can go find another planet or another world or universe or whatever and try to find something and try to get those resources and, try to do something out of that too. I mean, so like I said, I feel like they both can make something out of nothing and like create something. But again, it's really ultimately trying to figure out like, can they work well together and try to, make sure that they could have the best tech or they could do all that. And I'm not saying Batman wouldn't, buy it, because Batman, yeah, I mean, he's smart enough to know like, could he like make a design or like make some schematics? I mean, could he talk with Donatello and say, hey, we're looking at trying to do this? Okay, well then Donatello will be like, okay, well, we have to think about this. We have to think about that. Is there a way to do this? Sure, they could easily do that and they could find the way. But just like with Rick and Reed, I mean, Reed is already rich enough to have all that stuff, so it's not like they couldn't do the same thing. I mean, yeah, I understand he's a very methodical and, like you said, a perfectionist. So like, again, the problem is though, is like, if you're in the fucking tight scenario, like you got to think quick and you got to think really fast. And I mean, the only problem, like I said, like you've mentioned with Reed, is that because he's a perfectionist,
he may
could he resolve that really quick and say, okay, well, this is what we got. We're going to have to just test it out as quickly as possible.
Right. But I do think, I mean, on a level where Rick and Reed work together, I think for Rick, as far as him, I mean, yes, we all know, like I said, he's unstable. It's real. He's not very trustworthy as a leader, but I think if you tie him to Reed Richards, who could match his level of genius, that would drive Rick to want to perform better. And I think that that's where you have that, like,
yeah, the complementary.
You have that complementary, but you have that like kind of a challenge where Rick is not just doing shit on his own like he normally does, but he's trying to be better than
Right.
Reed. But you also have Optimus Prime, who's leading this whole group.
I mean, so if you think about both of our characters or all of them for a second, I mean, so Reed could technically, they could house every single character, in the building, right? Just Batman could do the same thing or have multiple hideouts, because that was another thing that Batman would do, is that he would have contingency, hideouts in case of something else happened or whatever. So at least in that fact too, is that there's always going to be hopefully a backup plan, with either one of our, characters. There's always something in place just in case of whatever it may be. So moving on,
let's move on to Muscle.
Yes. So Muscle.
We haven't talked about Muscle yet.
I know. So this is one I know is going to be a little rough, right? So we're talking about Master Chief and Darth Vader. So yes, Master Chief, yes, I understand he's a strong character, right? And I understand he can do certain things and he's very tactical and he's very, combat related too. I'm not saying that. And I understand that with Darth Vader, yes. I mean, he could literally just sit there, use the Force, basically chokehold and, do certain things. Now, granted, I understand that when we're talking about leadership and trying to control him, it would be, you're right. That would be my challenge, is like trying to make sure like, hey, you don't have to kill everybody. Like that's not the point of what we're trying to do. Now, again, it depends on like what you're going against, like, so if you're like, let's say you're doing, I'm just throwing an example here, but like the Marvel, like the Loki invasion of New York, like something like that. Well, all hands on deck. I mean, guess what? Darth Vader would fucking annihilate at least everybody in sight, or at least hopefully everybody that was.
And I'm not arguing that fact with you, but what I was arguing before was, if we're talking about Captain trying to contain Vader, Vader instantly can turn against Cap and.
Oh, I'm not. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he couldn't, and that's not definitely what I'm saying. I know that would be the challenge as well. I understand that Master Chief, yes, he can follow orders. He can already do all that and do what he needs to do, at least with Optimus. I'm not saying he couldn't, and I'm not saying that, where in his universe, he might have like certain things that he could bring to the table as well, like certain alien technology and some of the stuff that they have. But if we're gonna base it off the TV show, we
No,
might
if
have
we're
to talk
gonna-
about sexual. No,
Yeah.
I'm joking.
If we're talking about the TV show, then he's just going to sexually harass everybody that has boobs.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, but I mean, if we're taking the difference between, I guess, Darth Vader and Master Chief. Like Master Chief, at least you would agree with me that he is very reliable as far as a team person,
Correct.
because he has that military soldier background, but he's also on that level of being a surgically enhanced soldier, in that like he has a higher agility, higher endurance. He has no emotion because they removed
Right.
all that.
Right.
And not that I included it as a character, but part of his AI in his helmet is also, or in his head, if you watch
Yeah,
the show,
Cortana. Yeah.
Cortana is a real assistant to what he's doing as well. So I just think you really have to, as Captain America, you really do have to reel in Darth Vader.
Oh, I'm not saying you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. Even though this is a debate, I do agree that would be a challenge, and I'm not saying that there would be some difficulties. There's going to be some hardships in that sense, and so like I'm not saying that. I'm definitely saying that yes, you're right. I mean, if you want a nuclear explosion, Darth Vader is going to be that guy who's going to do it real quick. But I mean, I get it, and it depends on the fight that they're going to face against. I mean,
Right.
because that's the thing that they'd have to set up. But here's the magic side of the house. So I know with Albus Dumbledore, and I forgot who was it again that you chose for magic? It was Spawn. So the reason why this one might be a little difficult for you, and this is, so I'm not saying that Albus wouldn't, yes, does he have secrets? Sure. But here's the other thing: everyone on every team has some sort of secret that they're going to have to either face or kind of like try to do all that. But I think with Albus though, there is a moral compass that he has. There is certain things that he realizes that, if his teammates were, down or something like that, if something was going on and that they needed some magical assistance, like he is he's a very powerful wizard. Like he does have a lot of, abilities. And yes, he is quoted as one of the greatest wizards of all time, granted in that universe. But I think him personally, magically wise, like he's definitely one that I could see really shaping certain things, and I feel like where Spawn, this is where I feel like you would have a challenge, even though I have a challenge with Darth Vader. You would have a challenge because Spawn can also be an anti-hero, so like he's both. Like he's not just a hero, but he also can play a villain. So like you would have to somehow manage his like inner demons that he has to face with, I can't remember who it was that like controls him in the sense of like the demon side, but like that's the thing though, like you would have to find a way to make sure like he wouldn't do stupid shit on a battlefield.
Well, so here's the thing. Obviously we know that Al Simmons, which became Spawn, he was basically reborn as Spawn to become evil. Like he was
Right.
he was meant to conquer the earth,
Right.
using the demon army.
Correct.
But the thing is, if you read the comic books or you watch the animated series, like he was reborn very confused, very angry, very manipulated, and he
Right.
was thrown into this like cosmic war that he'd never even asked to be in. So he does have a moral compass.
I'm not saying he doesn't.
It's buried under a lot of trauma and rage and hellfire.
Correct.
But across the comics and the different adaptations that you can watch, he does protect innocence.
Yes.
He has hold on, I got a bunch.
Okay. All right.
He has a hatred of corruption and abuse of power. The refusal to blindly serve hell or heaven. He doesn't serve either one. The willingness to sacrifice himself for others, and the resistance to manipulation by literal demons. So he doesn't not have a compass.
No, but he is very emotionally unstable though. And the problem is a lot of that stuff drives that, especially when he's out in, let's say, a war in the sense of what we're talking about.
Right, but I would consider him more of the gritty protector who questions the rules, which yes, would he does definitely have a moral struggle as a character. But you also have to remember that he was murdered.
Oh no.
He was in physical hell.
Yep.
So he has he has been in darkness before. He's experienced it firsthand. He understands it. He knows what happens when power corrupts, obviously, because he's fought actual demons from hell. And he does push against authority that crosses lines. Like there's a comic where he was killing cops, but these cops were literally raping women and they were corrupt cops. And he is brutal, sure, but most of the people on my team are pretty brutal, other than maybe Samwise and Michelangelo.
Oh yeah.
So, maybe his moral compass isn't on that level of yours, but he definitely does have a moral compass that he doesn't want to fall into that darkness like the demons he's been fighting or the ones that want him to fight for for hell.
No, again, I get it, and I do understand that. Like I said, there's going to be some challenge, and again, and this is just every character. I mean, we're talking about challenges from the very beginning and trying to understand where each person is coming from. And now that you mentioned moral compass, because they're from the same universe, Samwise Gamgee and Aragorn. So I'm not going to say that Samwise isn't a fighter, right? But Aragorn is. And so I know that he can at least, yes, he has that very interesting, again, he's medieval, he's this and that, like he does protect, the innocents, and he does try to help, Frodo with his mission. And so like, I'm not saying Samwise couldn't, but no offense, in my opinion, Samwise is a little whiny bitch. And sometimes that's just me.
Well,
like I'm just gonna say it now. I'm just like Samwise
listen.
could be a little whiny, like in my opinion. I'm not saying that he's not wrong. It's just the way he comes about it. That's all I'm gonna say. Aragorn, I'm not gonna say.
I don't have an argument against Aragorn because I do think Aragorn is a good pick, although he is himself a leader as well.
Correct.
Not that he's going to question whoever the leader is in this regard. It's Cap, but I don't have an argument against Aragorn because I think as a character he's awesome. I mean, he is willing to go into the fight. He's willing to sacrifice himself. He does have that moral compass, but where Samwise isn't the strongest physically, it's not the point.
I know it's not the point,
right?
I mean,
So he's psychologically he's unbreakable, and if you watch Lord of the Rings, like like Frodo was literally like trying to get on, like he was trying to push him away. And the same thing with what's his face? I can't think of the name, even though it should be like a character.
Legolas, or you talking about which?
No,
one?
my precious there. What's his name?
Gollum.
Yeah, Gollum. Even though Gollum really set him up for failure because Gollum hated Samwise in that movie.
Of course.
He resisted that corruption. He carried allies through hopeless situations like we see with Frodo. He's shown loyalty, even though the things that were up against him, like he could have just been like, yo, fuck this. I'm leaving. Like, you want me to go? I'm gone. And honestly, probably as a character, if Frodo was like yelling at me and saying I did all this shit, like, hey, good luck with that mission of yours. Like, I'm out. I'm out.
See ya.
No, but he was loyal to Frodo, not because like they were the same species or whatever.
Right.
They were both hobbits, but he's shown that loyalty. It overrided fear and pain and despair. This is the guy who prevents the collapse.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to give up, and we see that in Lord of the Rings. In all three movies, he never gives up. He never gives up on Frodo. He keeps pushing, no matter how painful, no matter how, whatever the odds that are stacked against him. That's the guy that I want as a moral compass. Like, you want a guy that's like, I just shoved you off a cliff. Why are you still here?
Yeah,
Like,
no, you're right.
I'm going to protect you. I don't care what it takes. And you're like, well, fuck you. I don't want you here. And it's like, well, I'm still going to be here. You can say what you want. You can do what you want. You can treat me how badly you want. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to make sure that this thing goes to the end.
Correct. Okay. Like I said, I mean,
That's who I picked.
okay.
You know,
Now, this one I know is going to be a hard one for me. The wild card liability, right? So, at one point, does unpredictable become mission ending? So, you're right. I'm not going to say that Darth Vader and Negan are going to be, because those are going to be the two biggest challenges. So, yes, Negan, yes, he is very unpredictable. Yes, he is leader of his own right, or sorry, what he thinks is his own right. Yes, he does, you know, because the thing is, and I know you've watched all of basically The Walking Dead and stuff like that. Yes, and I know that yes, eventually he does end up with, well, I'm trying to remember her name, their spinoff TV show.
who was yours again? I'm sorry,
Negan.
Negan.
Yeah, well, who's the girl that he's with in New York? But anyways, once you look that up, it's fine. The point is like I know he tries to like help out and like trying to turn a new leaf and stuff. So it's not like he's always going to be that guy. And I feel like yes, sure, yes, is he an evil fucking person? Yes, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie that he is like legit.
That's Maggie.
So like yes, he is definitely a wild card factor, and I'm like, and I know that he could possibly turn and do all this. I just think that there could be a point where like I said, there is going to be struggles. There is going to be some tension. There's going to be all this kind of crap. But the thing is, though, is that maybe he'd be the one that could literally unexpectedly do like, yeah, he might say, you know what, guys, I'm going to sacrifice myself and I'm just going to say ride or die, baby. And then fucking ride off. And
I seriously doubt Negan would sacrifice
well,
himself,
but who knows? I mean, but again, we don't know that piece though. I know that we're basing it off of whatever, but I mean, I just know that, at the end of the day, I mean, because your wild card is, again, the whole point of it is supposed to be unpredictable. Geralt, I mean, again, I don't know about too much about him because, again, I have, unfortunately, that's like the one game I never really got to play was The Witcher. But, like, sure, you know what? I could probably agree that, yes, he could probably be one that could sacrifice. He could do all that stuff and, like, really unpredictably do certain things to make the team better, but it could also make it worse. I mean, it all depends because I also know he's like I can't remember like there's powers that he has, right? Does he like turn? I'm not saying a roid monster, but like he like I don't know. Does he possess or does he like?
Well, he doesn't possess, but
like,
he has superhuman reflexes and strength. Master swordsman, trained since childhood. Potion enhanced senses and speed. So that's what when he drinks that little potion, it gives him enhanced senses and speed. Combat experience against monsters, curses, and armies, but he can do magical signs like shielding, blast force traps, mind effects. And honestly, like I think you have different you have different people, right? I mean, The Witcher, Geralt, he investigates threats before fighting and identifies weaknesses, adapts mid-combat constantly. He uses preparation, potions, traps, the environment. He has a professional monster hunter methodology. I mean, Negan, one, he's smart in social situations. Geralt is not going to be social. He's just going to do.
No, you're right.
But Negan also uses fear and manipulation. He's probably out of all the characters that I can think that's a huge manipulator.
Oh, he definitely is.
It's definitely him. He's strong at power plays. But he becomes less effective once his level of intimidation falls.
True, and I'm not saying that with both sides of characters, like whether your team or my team. I mean, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be, there's like I said, there's going to be a power differential. Like there's going to be things that are going to come into play that are going to be harder for at least Cap and a few others to like trust Negan in that sense. And I'm not saying all this because I'm not going to disagree with that because again, the whole point of a wild card is you really don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And it's going to be hard, especially with Negan.
And you know what? Initially, I did have the T-800 Terminator.
See, I
initially I did, but then I swapped him out to Geralt because I thought Geralt was a better character. Like I said, he does have a morality where Negan's morality can be 50-50, whether
correct.
He's thinking about himself or he's thinking about other people. And there's a difference for Negan thinking about other people and then thinking about himself, because and that's why I said he's probably not going to ever sacrifice himself because he's always looking for that way out.
Well, true, but I mean, so again, if you think about like he would be a perfect member of the Suicide Squad. He would be like one of the
Yes.
best people
Oh
to
yes,
have in
he
the Suicide
definitely
Squad.
he definitely would.
You
be.
know, like that would be like kind of a perfect role for him, but I know that's not what we're talking about. But like I said, I understand. I understand that Negan's kind of one of those things, and whether it's mission ending or not, I mean, you're right. I don't know. That's where the unpredictability comes into play. But you know, I said, you know what, screw it. Let's just throw some guy in and see how well he does. Who knows? I don't really know what the outcome here, but
It really depends on how Cap uses Negan, and that's really where your Cap's planning and like what he does. Because if you need somebody for a social manipulation or to get into a situation where it's more of a social, like Negan's that guy.
Oh, he
And
will.
I don't know if I really have that guy. I mean, you're not sending Spawn into a social
Oh
situation.
hell no!
You're not sending, the
Although
Witcher.
Optimus.
You may be able to send Master Chief, but he's gonna do it with zero emotion.
Oh yeah. So
you would have to either do Reed Richards
or maybe Optimus, but I mean,
or
most
Optimus.
people, but most people, especially with a robot that's fucking, I don't even know how tall, but he's fucking huge. I highly doubt they're going to be like, oh, he seems friendly.
I know who. I mean, it's certainly not going to be. Hey, Morty, you're not going to send him
No,
in
you're,
there.
you're definitely not. But I know what you're saying. I mean, like I said, it all depends. But the last and final one, right? So the comic relief. So with Michelangelo, yes, I could agree that yes, he is a good choice. He does have the capability to kind of ground his team and stuff. But
he's like the Spider-Man
no, yes.
of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean,
he is.
He just has that like wit.
But the only thing I would say about Michelangelo, yes, I'm not saying that his skills are not good and stuff like that. I think a lot of them would treat him more as a kid. And I think the reason why is because when you're looking at Optimus, you're looking at Geralt, you're looking at Rick and all them. I feel like they wouldn't use him to his full potential. I feel like they.
I think.
I feel like in some ways, I feel like that would be the struggle at first. They think, oh well, what's this guy gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? Like you'd have to. It's almost like he has to almost.
I mean, I think Optimus Prime would 100% use him, not because he's comic relief, but because, again, he has he has training as a master ninja. So
no, I'm not discrediting Mike. You know, I'm just saying that I feel like at first there would be some sort of struggle, but depending on the characters, at least with initiating them. Because trust me, I already know that Donkey's going to be annoying as shit. I already know
Donkey's
Donkey's been annoying as shit. But I feel like after a while, I feel like
a donkey on the edge.
Woohoo! Like just his stupid humor. I feel like I know I really
and hopefully he doesn't fuck something weird like like he did the dragon. Like
no, I understand, but
hey, can you keep your dick out of things?
No, but I feel like the interesting part about well, I know, I agree with you. I mean, but I also know that I feel like with Donkey, I mean, the fact that he could call up Dragon and be like, all right, come on, let's kick some ass, like with Aragorn. I mean, so it's just like I said, it's like it's not really a character on top of that. It's just more like he has a way of like, shit, I need to get out of a situation just in case if he needed to go and do something. Then he could go and he could go with Aragorn and be like, all right, let's go. Let's just take the fuck out of here,
And to be honest, not every character, even comic relief, like, yes, they are comic relief. They're meant to lighten the mood, but they don't. I mean, Michelangelo just happens to be somebody who can fight. Donkey, I wouldn't trust him in the battlefield.
Well, I mean, he could probably just use his like jackass abilities and kick the shit out of people, but that's only going to get you so far.
Right, but I wouldn't necessarily be like, yeah, go right out to the front lines, motherfucker. Like, go out there.
No, I mean,
ahead.
I would say,
I wouldn't trust him in a fight, but that's not the point of the character. The character is meant to, I mean, he would work closer to the moral compass.
True.
In bringing up the morale, keeping things,
flowing and
fun and bringing up that positivity.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like he definitely, in a lot of ways, could. But I also know, like I said, Emily, the one thing of, like I said, he could call up Dragon and say, "Hey, we gotta go take some shit down," and he could at least do that. And like I said, as long as let's say Dragon trusted, let's say Aragorn, they could kind of work side by side. You know what I mean? And like do some stuff with that too. So there is that capability of like if he needs to get out of a situation, sure, he can call up Dragon. He could do whatever the hell he wants and. Go and, say, hey, you have to go clear the right flank over here. Sure. Okay. Gotcha. Takes Dragon and just fucking wipes out, whatever enemy they're talking about. But again, I also know that, like I said, comic relief wise, sure, could he could definitely be a morale booster, but sure, he might be a distraction. He could be a really good distraction. I mean, he's been known to do that. So like if they needed someone to distract, guess what? Donkey's your guy. If you need a good old distraction, Donkey's going to be that guy to be a good old distractor while they're going to do other things.
So my question, and this is kind of like final verdict. We're not going through this whole list, but like, we all know who the biggest risk on each of our teams are. So we don't have to go through that. But who on your team do you believe would be your MVP? Like, who is the most valuable person on your team?
That's a tough one. You know what? I'm gonna let you go first because I feel like you might have a better answer for yours than mine right now.
I mean, it is tough. I 100% do not believe it'll be Michelangelo. I don't think it'll be Samwise. I do feel like the MVP would either be Optimus Prime or Master Chief. Master Chief obviously would only be getting his orders because he is a soldier after all from Optimus Prime. So I would have to say Optimus Prime would be my MVP.
See, for me, this is a tough one because I think my MVP would either and this is where I'm going to go with either one. So it would really depend. I would either say Cap or Batman. And the reason why is because Cap, I mean, he would have to deal with a lot of struggle. You know, he would have to deal with a lot of that struggle and try to figure out what Darth Vader and Negan in that sense. But, you know, the Batman could also be another MVP only because, like, you know, I'm looking at it as like, yeah, sure, could he have contingency plans? Could he, you know, make sure that his team was at least, you know, trying to figure out the worst outcomes and trying to like figure out, you know, is the situation possibly, you know, could it be done? Could it be ultimately, you know, achieved? You know, so like, you know, Batman with that strategic factor, like he could at least try to figure out hopefully the outcome of a worst case scenario. So again, I mean, it's hard between the both of them, but I mean, I probably would have to give it more to Cap because I think he would have the most struggle trying to deal with Darth as well as Negan. And I think he would have to find a way to deal with both of them and try to make them work effectively in what they were trying to do.
All right, real quick. Who dies on your team first?
Yeah, who dies on my team first? Let's see.
I already know who mine is because it's an easy one.
Who dies on my team first? Well, I'm going to say it. It's probably going to be Negan.
I would say Dumbledore, but
you would think Dumbledore?
He's old as shit. What is he?
It doesn't matter. I mean, he knows a lot of. I would
It'll
say
probably
Negan.
be Donkey, to be honest.
You think Donkey? I mean, it very well could be. I mean, it really all depends. Who do you think on your team?
Oh, Samwise, 100%.
Oh, Sam, absolutely. Samwise is probably going to die.
Samwise's the only guy that doesn't have any kind of ability whatsoever.
I mean, I would say either Negan or Donkey. It'd be one of those two.
He would almost be the comic relief if you did like a satire parody movie because like he could fall off a cliff or get hit by something and you're like, oh, he's dead, and then he shows up in the next scene going, hey guys, I'm good, and he's dusting off the leaves and shit. And he's I'm good, guys.
I agree. I mean, I don't really know, and I think these next three questions, though, I think we're gonna let the viewers decide. So, like, first question is, which team do you think is going to survive 30 days? We're not going to answer this because we can debate all night and do all this. So we're going to give you a few questions here. So, which team do you think survives 30 days? Right? Which team do you think internally implodes on themselves?
I can give you that answer.
Yeah, of course you could, but we're not going to go there. And then finally, you know, which team would you think the listeners here, you know, would rather be stuck with? So, no, again, we're not going to answer this because we could fight about it. We could do all this stuff all day. We want you guys to answer because we really, you know, we want to hear what you guys think. Because honestly, I mean, we could debate all day, and we're not going to do that. We just want you guys to tell us.
So between John and myself's team, which would you rather be stuck with? And that's, I guess, really the closing question. I mean, John, you have Captain America, Batman, Darth Vader, Aragorn, Donatello, Dumbledore, Negan, and Donkey from Shrek.
Versus.
And my team, oops, hold on. I opened the wrong
I'll tell you. So his team, Optimus Prime, Reed Richards, Master Chief, Samwise Gamgee, Geraldo Rivera, Rick Sanchez, Spawn, and Michelangelo.
Right.
So again, depends on which ones you're going to go with. It's up to you guys. We're not going to answer that question. So basically, real quick, you know, even though we've been talking about all this stuff, you know, this is why we don't just talk about worlds. We stress test them, you know, because we want to find out, like, you know, because I know there's been TV shows about, like, I can think of one on the History Channel, like, you know, I think there was one about like different like uh real world people basically that would do like Genghis Khan versus like Alexander the Great,
Yes.
like stuff like that, like who would win in a battle. So, like, you know, in this sense, like who would win in the sense of like in a multiversal war, you know, against depending on whatever threats there were. Like, who do you think would win like in certain battles and things like
We
that?
just do it in a less scientific way.
True. We just say, you know what, let's just see how this works.
Right.
You know, and so like the biggest thing is even though we're closing out season 3, you know, I feel like we've done a lot of different things. I mean, I know we've done a lot with Evolve. You know, we've done a lot of different characters and like different ideas, especially like AI versus Hollywood, which I really do love, you know, that series. I think it's definitely different. And, you know, and especially with our last few ones that we've done, like I think we've done a really good job of saying like, hey, you know, we've definitely taken, you know, an idea and see if we can make it into a reality, you know, and I think that's done really well.
And we do have another one coming up in season 4. It's going to be a Western.
Yes, that's going to be interesting because
Yes.
there's not, I mean, we've done a lot of different things, but to go out of the realm of what we've done to try to do
Oh
something.
yeah, I mean we've done
different.
sci-fi, superheroes. So yeah, this one's going to be a Western, and I can tell you, I think it's pretty epic myself. But
So we'll have to find out once season 4 comes out.
yeah, I mean season 4, we're going to try to make things a lot sharper, a lot louder, and a lot less polite.
Hey, you know, we're already less polite as it is, so might as well just
Yeah.
add the tone to that. You know, and again, we want to thank you guys because honestly, you know,
152 episodes. This is 152.
and I've
Right
told
now.
you guys, I mean,
Yeah.
when people say, "Oh, do you have content?" Oh, we got content, man.
Yeah, we have
you can-
150 episodes
So-
plus to listen to.
I mean, again, we also when we originally said what was it, episode 20? You know, like if we could get past that. I mean, we're at 152 now. I mean, I think we're well past the whole. You know, can we go further than we can? Absolutely. There's always more to talk about. We're always wanting to have more guests on. I'm trying to get more people on the show because I'm honestly trying to see if we can again have different ideas because.
Yeah. And we're going to be much more relevant too. I mean, we're going to try to do more, you know, current comic book news or movie news, or talk about topics that, you know, are not necessarily nostalgic, which is what we've kind of been doing.
We've
Like
been doing
we
a lot
did
of that, yes.
Assassin's Creed, and we talked about Turtles, and we talked about 80s, 90s, 2000 stuff. But we're going to try to be a lot more deliberate in bringing like Marvel news or what's going on with DC or what's going on with video games. Like, what are the new video games coming out? There's actually a John Wick one that was at one of the game
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was
Um,
a John Wick game. That's interesting.
conventions that was recently. But yeah, they're making a John Wick game, which I saw the gameplay footage that they showed at this convention, and it looked really cool. Like,
Okay.
so, you know, we're gonna try to be more deliberate, more relatable as far as like what's going on right now, as opposed to like what happened in the '90s or the 2000s. Like,
All
so-
right. You know, and so like the biggest thing is you know, so yes, I know we always do our little closing output here, but I mean, I guess I just want to say that, you know, with I couldn't do a lot of this stuff without Matt, honestly. And I do appreciate him. Yes, I do. I'm very grateful for him. And yes, I'm kind of bringing back to that whole, you know, like we talked about last week with, you know, Valentine's Day, you know, the biggest thing that I'm going to say is that we try to preach what we say as much as we can. We're not perfect, right? We're definitely not going to be the most perfectionist like Reed Richards over here. You know, we're trying to make sure that we understand, like, hey, we're humble, right? We're trying to make sure that you guys understand that we're trying to be different. We're trying to be creative in our own rights, but at the same time, you know, what we're saying and what we're trying to do is, you know, we're trying to be different as possible because we don't want to be the cookie cutter, you know, podcast. We don't want to be like that. We want to be different as much as possible. You know, we want to basically, you know, preach. I wouldn't even say preach, but basically just say stuff that makes the most sense and the most relatable to everyone, whatever gender you are. Yes, I'm going to say gender, you know, whatever religion, whatever the case is, whatever age you are. I don't care, right? The whole point is hopefully whatever we're putting out, you guys can at least relate to it, and that it's also the most hopefully relevant, and it's not just made up shit, because that's the other thing. We
Right.
don't try to make up this crap. You know, we try to make it so that way you understand, like, you know, we're here. You know, we're two dudes on two different mics, and again, we can't do it without you. And so bringing that back, fist bump, man, little follow, interact, subscribe, tell your friends, check our, website out, check all the fun shit that we're trying to pull, especially like the merch store. I mean, I know sometimes, we haven't been really updating as much because again, the reason why is because we're trying to get you guys to, try to support in some ways because again, we're not making money off this by any means right now. We're trying to at least, continue to do this and hopefully get you guys to, just support in any way that you can, whether, it's a donation, whether it's a, merch or whatever the case is. I mean, because at the end of the day, we got to fund this somehow. We can,
Yeah.
it's not even just us making money off this. No, we're nowhere near that right now. But the whole point is we're just having fun. We're just having fun.
Yeah, and
doing
there's a
this
lot
kind
of great merch in our merch store, so you can I mean, there's a bunch of different types of shirts. There's pins that match the shirts. There's some stickers, so there's a little bit of something for everybody. There's a hat, there's a hoodie, and we try to keep the prices as low as possible. And it's on demand, so they print on demand.
Right.
So once you order it, they're making it just for you, which is pretty awesome. And you can go right to our website. You can click shop, and you can see our entire merch store. Buy what you want. The pins are, I believe, only $7. So
Yeah.
they're really nothing.
It's nothing outrageous.
Nothing outrageous. I think most of the shirts are within that 20, 25 range. The hoodie might be a little bit more because it's a hoodie. It costs a little bit more, but you're never going to find like, oh, we have our T-shirts and they're $45 a piece. No,
And the hoodies are about $70. No, we're trying to keep it as low as possible. I mean, if we get big enough where we can do all that, then we might have to adjust certain things, but we'll try to keep it as reasonable as possible. How about that?
Yeah.
That's the best way we could do it, right? But anyways, until next time, boys and girls.